Hello and welcome to today's webinar, which is on Invest in Your Future, an 8-step approach to your 2017 marketing plan. This is Terry Wheeler. We're very happy to have you here on the webinar today. My business partner, Christy, is right here with me.
Hello, everyone.
And she's going to be handling any questions that people have, which I'm happy to answer. You probably all know this if you've been to our webinars before, that you have a dashboard into which you can ask questions, and I promise we will get to every one of your questions at the end of the webinar, even if we have to stay a couple minutes late. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm just going to breeze through this. A lot of you probably have been to our webinars before, but I'm Terry Wheeler, and I started professional services marketing about 20 years ago. I have a strong background in the legal industry. I do writing. I do a lot of writing in the legal industry for Attorney at Law magazine, and was just asked to do be a featured columnist for the ABA for one of their GP solo magazines. So let's move into the agenda for today. What we're going to do, and there's actually something more besides this, we're going to go through the 8 steps that it takes to really develop a cost-effective and results-oriented marketing plan for you as a professional services provider. We're going to look at your clients. We're going to talk about what it means to have A-level client criteria and why that's so important. We are going to speak about what makes you a unique butterfly in your profession and how you can maximize that. We're also going to look at how to best identify the target audiences, key messages, marketing objectives, all the things that you know go into a marketing plan. We're going to talk about your revenue goal for 2017, and then we're also going to give you some tips on ways in which you can take action to implement your marketing plan. Now, in the dashboard, you have access to all of the materials from today's session. All you have to do is click to download them. Now, I think I left the Develop Your Marketing Plan for 2017 as a Word document. I don't recall, but even if it's a PDF, you can download that. If you've already downloaded it, you can follow along as we go through this presentation. You have an Excel document that is a sales pipeline for 2017. And then the last 3 documents for sure are PDFs, the 40 ideas you can do in 5 minutes or less, and I promise that's true. We have a LinkedIn checklist to help you get your LinkedIn profile in tip-top shape. And then I also included a piece on how to develop compelling pieces of representative experience, which we're going to talk more about. So as we get started, let's take a look at the building blocks of your marketing plan. These are the elements that a solid, well-balanced plan should be built around. First of all, you want to make sure that you step back and you assess your practice, that you look at everything over the past couple of years, what's worked, what hasn't worked, who have you competed with, how have you generated your new business. You literally have to step back, pour everything on the table, and look at it so that you can, with assurance and with some good data points, move to the next level, which is developing your plan, your marketing plan for the future. That is the 8-step marketing plan that you have as an attachment to this webinar today. You then want to commit to implementing. Now, there are 2 levels at which you're going to be implementing your marketing plan as a professional. The first one is what you do to follow up with all the contacts that you have. The second one is how you follow up on specific activities that are going to help you generate new business. And then, very importantly, you need to have some mechanisms in place to be able to measure the results of your marketing efforts. Very, very important. Now, we also, as you're developing your marketing plan, I want to throw this concept out there. Many of you are familiar with this, but it's called the 4 pillars of marketing. And it's a term that I coined many, many years ago because I feel that it encapsulates everything that a professional should do as you implement your marketing plan. So the first pillar, as you can see, is all about retaining and growing relationships with your existing clients, contacts, referral sources. And then I'm throwing some kind of some subcategories here that are generally part of the first pillar. Now, the second pillar is all about attracting new clients and developing new business. This is the sales side of your marketing effort. It's about networking and targeted business development and how you leverage your expertise with professional associations. The third pillar of marketing is all about increasing name recognition and awareness. These pillars are built so that you have at least a couple of things under each pillar that you're doing to implement your marketing plan to make sure that it's well balanced. So one of the best things to come along in the last 10 years for increasing name recognition is, you guessed it, social media. So we're going to spend a little bit of a time talking about that because there is so much you can do through various social media channels to build your thought leadership and your knowledge across audiences who you want to know who you are. The fourth pillar of marketing is all about creating targeted and effective communications. It's about your marketing database. It's about the print materials that you distribute, but it's also about the e-communications that you're sending, and probably most importantly, your website. So now as we go through all of this, I want to ask you, because this can be kind of a daunting task. So if I were standing in front of you, I would ask you if you've ever felt this way about the concept of marketing your practice. Because I know that with the clients I work with, they do want to scream sometimes, and that it's really my job and Christy's job, because she coaches a lot of clients as well, to make the marketing planning process manageable. And so how do you do that? Again, the 8-step marketing plan really came out of a very comprehensive process that I had developed years ago, but I kept feeling like I just have to boil this down to the pure essence of what it takes to develop a marketing plan. So hopefully you are not going to get through this webinar and have this expression on your face. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, and again, if you have printed out the 8-step marketing plan, you can actually follow along, and I'm just going to add a few additional thoughts for you as we look at your top contacts. One of the things that I'm very cognizant about is that I want to make marketing manageable for you. And I think too many times people feel like, wow, I've got 1,000 people I'm connected to on LinkedIn, or I have 1,500 contacts on Outlook. How do I begin this process? Well, the best thing for you to do is to focus on your top 10 lists. And I want you to look at your current clients, because as we all know, current clients can create a fabulous referral network for you because they're thrilled with you, they're happy with you. But you also want to look at past clients. Many times when you finish working with a client, you think, well, I guess it's all over, they were a great client. But keep those past clients top of mind, because there are chances that you could potentially go back to them and they could either refer business to you, or maybe they want to re-engage with you. Again, look at your top 10 prospective clients. Who would you like to do business with, but they don't really know about you yet? It's important to acknowledge those. And then finally, and for service providers like we all are, it's about the referral sources that you develop. And under this category, there are really two subcategories. They're the referral sources that send business to you, but then there are also those that you refer to. Those are very important people, and as you develop your marketing plan and implement it, you want to have referral source relationships that are really mutually beneficial. So if you're referring consistently to someone, you want to make sure that there's a reciprocal relationship. I hate to say it, but sometimes lawyers have a bad reputation in this area. And I acknowledge it's harder for lawyers to refer business, but always think about what can you do for the people who are referring business to you, because you always want to make sure that they feel that those referrals that they're making to you are appreciated. But the key message on this slide is that you have to make marketing manageable, and that one way to do that with your contacts is to identify your top 10 lists. That way you have no more than 40 people, and even beyond that, and we're going to get into this, but I would like you to go through, and even with your top 10 lists, I want you to categorize them with A's and B's, the people that you think are the low-hanging fruit. So there's a whole process we use when we coach our clients to make that happen. Now, let's talk for a minute about your ideal clients and referral sources. It's so important that as you're out there proactively marketing in the community, in the marketplace, that you really step back and you think, what do my very best clients have in common? What are their traits? What are their characteristics? How do they react and respond to me? Many times A-level criteria will include a lot more than just, do they pay me every single month? Do they just not complain? Well, we want to look at things like they respect you as a professional. They defer to your expertise. They like you, they trust you, they respect you, and you feel the same way about them. And what I always tell my clients is to, if you're having a hard time thinking about, well, what do my very best clients have in common? Step back and look at the clients that you've dealt with in the past that maybe haven't been the best clients. The clients that once you get into the engagement, you're thinking, why did I take this person on? Because many times you can also come up with the opposite criteria. If they were always late or always canceling meetings or always arguing with you about the best way to proceed, you can turn those into positives so that you know what you're looking for in a client. And my belief, and Christy's as well, is that you spend too much time out there building your reputation. And when you're looking at the proactive side of building your relationships, you want it to be with people who are going to be a really good fit for what you do. You're always going to have clients who, because of your great reputation, they're going to call you, maybe they're referred to you, but what we're really talking about here is the proactive side of going out with those top 10 lists and really picking people that you want to do business with based upon the criteria that your best clients have in common. So now let's talk about something that I think is very important, because what makes you unique is how you craft your messages around why people should hire you. So I know that we all think that we're kind of unique butterflies, but I want to give you some additional thoughts. Actually, isn't this just a gorgeous, stunning slide? I hope it looks as nice on your monitor as it does on mine. But knowing what makes you unique is extremely important. You want to step back and you want to answer questions like why your clients hired you. What you're trying to determine here is you want to be able to convey what you do through the eyes of your satisfied clients. You want to make sure that you take note of that feedback that you receive when a client unsolicitedly sends you an email saying, thank you so much, your expertise, your knowledge, whatever it was. Make sure that you listen to what those clients are saying to you, because within their messages and within their adulations, they are telling you what makes you unique. Many times you can even ask a client, as you know, you develop close personal relationships with many of your clients. So ask your client, why did you hire me? You had other choices of financial advisors, of attorneys, of consultants. Why did you hire me? And they will tell you exactly why they hired you. And you need to bottle that, because that is part of what creates your uniqueness in the marketplace. Yes, I was into art when I was pulling this together. So let's look at some questions to ponder here with Rodin. As you're talking about your uniqueness, you want to think about, why do your clients hire you? I mentioned that before. The feedback that you receive, you want to leverage that. You want to put that feedback on your website. I understand that financial advisors have some different ethics requirements than people in the legal industry do. You obviously have to take these recommendations and apply them to your own situation, but what you hear from satisfied clients is very eye-opening. What you think makes you unique may not even be the thing or the reason that they hired you. Now, I love the next one. What do I want my clients to say about me when they refer me? There's nothing more uncomfortable than getting a call from someone, and someone that you've really been building a referral relationship with finally sends you a referral, but the referral is all wrong. They don't meet your A-level client criteria. It just puts you in kind of a quandary. So think about what you want your clients to say about you when they refer you, and there's nothing wrong with meeting with your clients and referral sources, or sending them an email, or just communicating with them. These are the clients. Let them know what your A-level client criteria are, because if you're a financial advisor and you focus on working with physicians, for example, make sure that your referral sources know that that is an area of uniqueness that you bring to your clients. And then also think about, what expertise do I have that other people in my profession don't have? What we're talking about here is really defining your niche. Now, I want to dispel the myth right away that having a niche is going to preclude you from getting other business, and that if you have a niche, nobody's going to see you for all the other wonderful things that you bring to the party. But Christy and I strongly believe that having a niche is one of the most important ways in which you can differentiate yourself in the market. So what does it mean to have a niche? It means that within a particular subcategory of your practice, you have extremely high visibility. You are viewed with great credibility. People ask you to write and to speak because you have subject matter expertise in a particular area. And what that does is it translates then right into a niche. Now, can you have multiple niches? Probably not a lot, but you can maybe have two. For example, I worked for many, many years with a financial advisor who had this substantive expertise in very complex stock option plans for executives. Now, that is a sub-niche within the area of financial advisors. And because this person had that niche, she was able to market herself into some very large corporations who then she became their financial advisor of choice because she knew how their stock option plans work, because that's an executive level perk. Her clients were the top level high earning executives. In the legal industry, let me give you just one other example. We have a client, and this is a success story, so I'm going to tell you their name. The client is Sherr Helene. And Sherr Helene is a plaintiff's employment law firm in Minneapolis. I was working with the owner, the co-owner, Larry Schaefer, and we were trying to figure out how can we better create a niche for your practice. And so we started talking about different cases that he had done over the years and realized that he had this uncanny number of clients he had worked with who were physicians. Now, as you know, working as a plaintiff's lawyer, you're representing the physicians because they're being mistreated in their work environment. So what we did is we built a whole story around the fact that Larry has worked with physicians. We added a section to his website. We created representative experience that showed what he did. We had some client testimonials. He did a number of blog posts on issues that were relevant to physicians. And I kid you not, he has generated millions of dollars in revenue from physicians who go to the website, they see the section that says for physicians, they click on it, and they call the firm and they say, there just aren't other firms out there who do plaintiff's work and focus on working with physicians. You know me. You know my world. I'm going to hire you over another plaintiff's lawyer. So I just want you to know that having a niche works. So now let's move into this important area of how you identify the audiences to whom you want to focus your marketing efforts on. So as you look at your various different types of clients, think about what they have in common. Just like when we're looking at A-level criteria for clients, think about the groups that those clients fall into. Are they, and I have another slide on this too, but you want to look at people who have generated business for you. You want to look at your niches. So let's say that you've designed, I'm just going to keep going with my Larry Schaefer example of the niche with physicians. So what do you want to do? Well, you want to get into a publication that's read by physicians. So on that note, Larry did a series of publications for a local magazine that has national distribution called MD News. So he was able to get his messages in front of physicians related to the employment issues they might be facing consistently on a monthly basis. So when you identify your target audiences, I want you to consider some of the following. I want you to look at the categories of your past and current clients, as well as the industries and trade groups that attract the individuals, the audiences that you're marketing to. Take a look at your referral sources. Here's another example. So if you're a family attorney, a family lawyer, you're likely going to want to build a referral source relationship with a number of family therapists, right? It's the one-to-many strategy. So you build relationships with family therapists. You go in and you do a presentation to the family therapists on what to do if you receive a subpoena for confidential information because there's a nasty divorce going on. you offer yourself as a resource for these different referral sources. But it's very important to know and understand who does refer the most business to you. Back when we were talking about how important it is to assess your practice, this is part of it. You want to look at where those referrals have come from. Go through each client that you have and identify who referred that person to me. They're still there fresh in your mind, but if you don't go through that exercise, it's going to be hard for you to just come up with them. But this is a very important target audience. And then finally, don't forget the media. Don't forget blog readers, people who follow you on social media. There are so many ways in which to get your messages out there to very, very targeted and specific audiences who are interested in hearing what you have to say. But remember, it's very difficult to market generalist services. You want to be able to, at least for your outwardly focused marketing efforts, you want to be able to focus on the things that a particular niche is interested in so that you can become that go-to financial advisor who works with baby boomers. I mean, things like that can really make a huge difference. Oh, you're that advisor. Yeah, I've heard about you. You're blogging about issues that baby boomers have as they approach retirement. You're doing presentations at FPA. You're really making a mark in this industry by focusing on baby boomers in this case. So now let's take a look at your key messages. As you can see, and as I'm going through this presentation, everything that we've been talking about thus far leads up to you being able to develop some awesome key messages. Now, why is it important to have key messages? It's important because your messages are going to vary depending upon who you're talking to. I didn't put a slide in here about an elevator speech, but it's the same concept. You have to know who you are, what makes you unique, the value you bring as a professional in order to develop your key messages. So what does that really involve? So key messages need to be formed and crafted around the areas that you're known for, where you have a little bit higher level expertise than others in your profession, where you are known as a subject matter expert. What are some of those areas? And also think about what industry attracts your very best clients and referral sources. I just didn't have room in my bubble down there to put and referral sources, but you want to make sure that the messages you convey speak to the uniqueness you bring as a professional, and you need to craft messages. Now, it's not like you're going to be sitting down at lunch and pull a piece of paper out of your pocket and say, my key messages, you should hire me as a financial advisor because, you know, these are they have to flow with who you are. They have to flow with your personality. But by going through the process and using the document that I gave you access to, the 8-step marketing plan, you need to internalize these messages because just like your elevator speech, they need to just be right there top of mind when you're talking to someone. The interesting thing is that both your elevator speech and your key messages are going to change if you're talking to a member of the media versus a referral source versus one of your existing clients. Your messages have to be able to flow amongst and between themselves. But unless you go through this process and actually develop some key messages, sometimes people are just at a loss because they're not prepared for how to position themselves. I'm just going to say this now because I'm thinking of it and I'm going to get to it a little bit later. But remember, when you're meeting with a prospective client or a contact or a referral source, the very best thing that you can do, first and foremost, is ask questions. I learned this from Christy, so I was looking at her, but she was being kind and respectful and she was not going to barge into my webinar here. But no, it's about asking questions. And the more questions you ask when you're talking to someone, the better able you are to create and craft and pull from your memory those key messages that are going to hit the nail on the head with that person that you're talking to. I'll give you more warning next time. Okay, so key messages. Now, Let's talk about something that by and large is probably the most challenging part of your marketing plan, because you have to set objectives. You have to determine what it is you want to accomplish in order to come up with an action plan to accomplish that objective. And you probably remember back in, maybe it was a marketing class in college, and it sounds a little trite, but this is really important, to have SMART objectives. Your objectives have to be specific. They have to be something that you can measure. They have to be realistic and attainable. They can't be pie in the sky. They also have to be results oriented. So as we were talking about measurement, you need to determine before you ever do something, how am I going to measure the results of this activity? And then they also have to have a timeline. You need to say, I am going to develop 5 new referral relationships by the second quarter of 2017. I'm going to have those relationships developed. So you have to put a timeline around it, or it just turns into that thing, that good intention that you want to do that you never actually end up implementing. So again, make them very specific and measurable. You might say, my goal, or I should say my objective, is to ensure that I am delivering client service and that 100% of my clients are happy with the work that my firm or that I'm delivering to them. That's a good objective if you tie a timeline to it. So let's get a little bit more, do a little deeper dive here on the marketing objectives. As you know, we talked about the 4 pillars of marketing, and it's our belief that you need to have some balance, which we talked about before, but you can look at a couple of these. Like, for example, under pillar 1, referral source development, client satisfaction. Come up with some SMART objectives around what your goals are regarding client satisfaction. And I gave you the example of the referral source development. I want 6 new referral sources in this area by this time. When you look at networking, I want to attend, and you have to be realistic, remember? So your goal might be, I'm going to attend 3 networking events each month that get me in front of prospective clients. Targeted business development, I want to attract, I want to go after this particular, let's just use an example of a psychologist office. You're a family lawyer. I want to become the go-to attorney or financial advisor for high net worth individuals. In other words, I'm not doing a good job of articulating this right now. The point is, as you're going through the 4 pillars of marketing, you want to make sure that you're thinking about the things you're interested in. Social media, for example. We always encourage our clients to have at least 500 or 501 connections on LinkedIn. It just shows people that you're more active and that you use social media as a tool. And so an objective could be to achieve 501 high-level social media connections by February 29th of 2017. And then the key is you have to hold yourself accountable to these. And that's why our clients, I just had a great coaching call this morning, and my client said, you know what I love most about these coaching calls is that you're holding me accountable. We're agreeing on the things that we're going to do as we set objectives, and then you're holding me accountable so that in 2 weeks when I talk to you, I will have done these things. So whether you're working with a coach or you have a colleague or a friend who can help hold you accountable to meeting your objectives, it's very, very important. Otherwise, nothing will happen. So now let's move into your revenue goal. I like to call this just identifying your real business development goal. Here's why this is important, because if you don't have a number to shoot for, it's just like saying, I just want to generate a lot of revenue next year. Well, that doesn't really cut it. So one of the exercises that we go through with our coaching clients is to say, here, what is your 2017 revenue goal, top line revenue goal? And then, as you know, in professional services, you have a lot of revenue that's already on the books, right? So let's say your goal is $500,000. But you've got a lot of clients that you're going to continue to work with, and fees and money and revenue are just going to continue coming in. So you have to do your best at what business owners do all the time, at this time of year, and that's revenue forecasting. So you have to look at what you think, look into that crystal ball on a client by client by client basis to identify what revenue you think is going to come in if everything goes as you're planning. And in this case, let's say it's $350,000 that you already have. You want to generate 500,000, but and you already have 350,000. Thank goodness I picked an easy answer or an easy mathematical formula here. So your real business development goal, of course, is 150,000. Now, if you have a real business development goal that is specific and measurable, you are much more likely to be able to achieve that goal. Do you want to attract 3 clients who are going to generate $50,000 a year next year for you? Or do you want to attract a number of different clients at a smaller level and then you'll need more of them? But having your real business development goal identified gives you something to shoot for, gives you the ability to determine, am I meeting my marketing goals for the year? And this is the obvious goal, is the new business that you're developing as a professional. Okay, so this is the fun part. We're going to talk about the action plan. Just as you need someone to hold you accountable to your marketing objectives and moving forward, you need to have an action plan. You need to be focused on what you're doing to drive revenue into your practice, build those referral sources to achieve all of the objectives, those measurable objectives that you set for yourself. So before we go there, because I think this is really important, and Christy and I talk a lot about this, and it really is related to your action plan, that you need to really think about the difference between sales and marketing. I think that most of the clients that I work with, they think that marketing is maybe advertising. They don't acknowledge the importance of sales. Sales is it's the one-on-one relationship that you're building with your clients and your referral sources. That's sales. And I want you to think about this because it makes most people feel a lot better. Marketing is about making the right statements. It's about what you're posting on social media. It's about the articles that you're writing. It's your branding. It's your overall reputation. But sales is all about asking the right questions. So that's why when I mentioned earlier, it's all about asking questions. Remember that when you are asking questions, you are in control of the conversation. And it's always easier to get people to talk about themselves. So before you sit down with a high-level prospect, make sure that you visit their website, that you go to their LinkedIn profile, and that you have some mental questions that you know you want to ask them. It also shows people that you are really interested in them, and that endears people to you. But sales is all about asking the right questions. So as we tell our clients, marketing without sales, if you're just throwing stuff out there in billboards and advertising without doing any sales, it's way too expensive. But if you're only doing sales without any messages, it's too hard. So that's why your marketing plan has to include a combination of the messages that you want to convey to the marketplace, as well as the relationships that you're building through having things like a sales pipeline, which we're going to talk about in a minute. So as I mentioned, you want to think about who your top 10 lists, right? You're going to have your A's and B's out of those individuals, and there are some, let's say there are 10 people. These are the 10 people that you're going to want to spend 80% of your marketing time with because you've determined that they have the highest possible rate of return in terms of turning into a client or referring business to you, okay? So think about your contacts in a little different way. This is a tool that I've also given you access to that you can download, and it's a sales pipeline for 2017. We're trying to get people used to the word sales. And when I was a marketing director in a law firm many years ago, if I would have said to the partners, we need to talk about our sales strategy, I think they would have thrown me out the window because lawyers don't sell. You know, we're a profession. We don't have to sell. But I want you to know that when you're out there building your practice, it's one of the best rubber meets the road ways in which to develop business. So the sales pipeline gives you an opportunity to identify those groups that we were talking about. Your best current clients, past clients, prospective clients, referrals you make, and people who make referrals to you. But what it actually does is it forces you to think about the financial side of these individuals. Now, I removed a whole bunch of lines here so that I could fit this all on one page, but you do want to think about the potential revenue that this person might have for you in 2017. And then most importantly, this is the most important column, next step of this whole document. What are you going to do to continue to build the relationship? This conversation I had this morning was, gosh, you send somebody an email and saying, Gal, let's get together for lunch, and you never hear back from them. Well, my advice is you have to have a method in place for keeping those emails alive. So in a couple of weeks, put a note on your calendar. Follow up again with Christy Gusick. Did she return my call? If not, make another call. You're just being not persuasive. You're just trying to put some context around how you're building these relationships so that your marketing efforts don't just end up in a black hole. So that's what this tool is designed to help you with. So this is the contact part. Now, the action plan. As you know, we talked about how to set realistic and measurable objectives. But then once you get into the plan of action for your activities, this is where you get tactical. The tactics that you determine are the hows. So back to the client objective of I want to have 100% client satisfaction. Well, one of your tactics is going to be I'm going to implement an end of case or end of transaction survey so that I can keep my finger on the pulse of my client satisfaction. Or this year, I'm going to conduct a client satisfaction survey across the board of all of our clients. Those are the hows of how you would achieve your objective of 100% client satisfaction. And so last but not least, before we move into kind of the bonus area of the webinar, is a message from my favorite philosopher. You may recognize him. Okay, I'm deviating from the art here. He's obviously cute, but Yoda says, do or do not, there is no try. And so again, what we're trying to stress here is that this is your business, this is your profession, you choose what you want to do and commit yourself to doing it. Don't just say that you're going to try. Do or do not, as Yoda said. So let's recap the 8-step marketing plan. As you can see here, you're identifying contacts, you're developing your messages and refining your audiences, you're creating those objectives, and then you're committing to the action plans that you have with people and with projects. So in the last few minutes that we have here, I thought it might be helpful for you to have me show you some of what I think are best practices. And yes, I'm biased because we did help our clients with these tools, but I want to show them to you anyway. So here's an example. One of your very best marketing tools is your biography, how you're conveying information about yourself without. One of my pet peeves is when I go to someone's biography and it's just paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of information and people lose interest. So use your biography as a way to showcase important things that you've done, honors you've received, publications and seminars that you've delivered, your community involvement, your relevant experience. Now, I know that financial advisors can't express their experience in this way, but lawyers can. So if you're on Tony Sherr's website and you click on experience, you go to a page that literally ties everything that he does for his clients into this is the type of client, this is the client's issue, this was my approach, and here's the result. And that is an extremely powerful marketing message. I actually included in your materials how to develop compelling pieces of representative experience. So I hope you will download that and consider adding this to your website. Another thing is to keep blogging. Now, these are two of our clients who are really good at blogging. Hanson Dordell and Schaefer Helene. You already met Larry Schaefer earlier in this webinar. But by blogging, you're creating that thought leadership. You are allowing yourself to write about the things that you are passionate about, that you want to develop a niche in. So I encourage you, if you're not already, to start blogging. And I do have a worksheet that I developed, and you're going to have an opportunity at the end of this webinar, if you stay on and don't just X out, to do our evaluation where you can say, yes, I would like to get your blogging worksheet. But it literally walks you through how to blog. A lot of lawyers put way too much thought and time into it, and they think it has to be a law review article. That's just not the case. They should be 400 to 600 words, which is pretty reasonable and doable. And then what's important after you do blog posts is how you promote those posts. You need to put them on your website, link them to your bio, tie them to the appropriate service areas on your website, promote them, post about them on social media. You can use blog posts to develop story pitches if you want to do some enhanced public relations. You can use your blog post to email to someone that you're about to meet with and say, well, here are a couple of articles or blogs that I've posted on issues for physicians, and you're meeting with a physician. So you put a few of your blog posts. That's a very positive way and subtle way to really impress them. I think people should also look at their signature blocks and have links to their blog posts within their signature blocks. All right, I'm moving on. I want to also talk about your LinkedIn profile. This is the lovely Christy Gusick. Christy is amazing. She has 1,901 connections. I am very far behind her. Well, not really, but I have 1,407. I checked just last night. But there are some powerful, powerful things that you can do with LinkedIn by building your profile, which you're going to do if you use the 2-page checklist that I included for you. You're going to have an awesome profile, and then you're connecting with all of your clients. But one of the things that's really fun is to use some of the advanced search features. We've done entire webinars. If you want to see how to use LinkedIn to develop your business, there's an archived webinar right on our website that gets into the nitty-gritty details there. But know that LinkedIn is a very, very powerful tool for you. So at this stage, we have a few minutes left, and I am curious if anyone has any questions. I know I covered a lot of information in a fairly short period of time, so let me just pull this. Let's see here. There's one question here. Wondering if you have any stats or best practices on the results of blogging compared to, wait a minute, of an off-site and an on-site blog. I think first and foremost that you want to have a blog, and here's the thing. There are two trains of thought on this. We actually have a client who we've set up a whole separate blogging platform for. There are benefits to doing that for search engine optimization. We didn't touch it all on search engine optimization. But if you have a blog like terriewheeler.com, and that's where all my blogs are, then there's all this information on the website. I think it does make a lot of sense. The key here is I think you want to blog. In the earlier stages, it's not about, it's more about just getting a group of blog posts together that reinforce your niche, that reinforce where you want your clients to come from. So that was a great question, and I hope that helped. You have the opportunity as well in your evaluation to ask to schedule a call with Christy or I, and we would be happy to talk in greater depth with you about blogging. Let's see here. Someone asked if we can get the slides. I will do my best to download them and save them, and I had a limit of 5 documents that I could upload, so I uploaded the meaty things. And then the last question from Angela is that we've mentioned that client feedback is an objective or an action plan. What process do you use to incorporate client feedback into the development of a marketing plan? Very good question, Angela. And I think the client feedback is one of the best ways to say, what do my clients appreciate most about working with me? If you do a client satisfaction survey, there's no reason that you can't say 99.9% of our clients would refer us to others in your marketing messages. So I think that incorporating that feedback into your marketing plan is also what helps you determine what makes you unique. It depends on whether you're doing some individual focus groups, if you're a solo practitioner and you're just talking to some of your clients, versus if you're doing an end of matter or an end of case survey. But there are always ways to look at client feedback. When you think about it, your satisfied clients and their feedback should determine where you go in the future. That's some of the most important data and feedback that you get is, what clients value most about you, and then turning around and marketing that through the satisfied eyes I should say, of your satisfied clients. So without further ado, I think we got through all of the questions. You please do stay on the webinar when I close out, because you will then be directed, it might take a couple of seconds, to our evaluation. There are other tools and free things on there that you are welcome to express interest in. I also want to let you know that on our website, we have a whole section for webinars. If you go to psm-marketing.com, you can see all of the webinars. You can look at any of the webinars. I always tell people, if you're interested in the materials that we shared for that webinar, just let us know and we'll send them to you. So anything that you want to add, Christy Gusick?
No, great job.
Well, I hope all of you have just a wonderful holiday, and Christy and I are going to be back in full swing doing webinars like this every other month. So we encourage you to go to our website, and you can register now, because we have all of our 2017 webinars up there, and we hope to see you at future webinars. Thank you so much, and again, have a great holiday.